watching Barry's TV. Here are the headlines. In Ivory Coast, the opposition federates to go to the legislative election in March. They intend to obtain the majority of seats in the National Assembly. In this edition, we will go in the Central African Republic, where several appeals were filed at the court challenging the results of the last election. Finally, in Burkina Faso, teachers singers are mobilized against COVID-19 through a caravan to sensitize students against the disease. But before developing this headline, in DR Congo, the Colonel Eddie Capend is finally free. He was greeted by a jubilant crowd today at Makala prison in Kinshasa after receiving a presidential pardon. The former aide camp of President Laurent Désiré Kabila will have spent 19 years in prison for the assassination of the latter. However, he has always claimed his innocence. 22 others convicted in the same case have also been released from prison. 6 days before the Ugandan presidential election, the opponent Bobi Wine filed a complaint before the International Criminal Court against President Museveni, the Minister of Security Eli Tumwan, and 8 other officials for crimes against humanity, violation of human rights, and civil liberties. The lawyer in charge of the case denounced violence against Bobi Wine and his supporters during his campaign. It must be said that for several months, the Ugandan opponent has faced various arbitrary arrests and attempts at intimidation. Now, in Ivory Coast, it is official. The opposition will go to the legislative election on March 6, 2021. The Ivorian opposition coalition intends to obtain a majority of seats in the National Assembly, a subject of Ashley Duprat.
It is in close line with the common strategy as announced by its spokesman that in Ivory Coast, the opposition coalition will finally go to the legislative election, and this after having boycotted the election of last October 31. Supporters of Henri Conan Bédier's PDCI, the two factions of the FPI and other political parties are invited to participate massively in this election. Although it does not recognize the result of the last presidential election, it is determined to block the ruling party, Rassemblement des Oufouettistes pour la démocratie et la paix, that the coalition is engaged in this electoral race to, in its own words, not leave full powers to the RHDP, as recalled by the president of the UPCI, Conan Niamien. It remains for the coalition of the opposition to agree on the common candidate it will present for each seat and to compile their files. But time is running out. The Independent Electoral Commission will only accept candidatures until January 20.
Also in the news, the Central African Presidency imposes a curfew throughout the territory from 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. in the face of rebellion, an additional way to fight against the rebels' advance towards Bangui. According to MINUSCA, the rebels have not advanced for 10 days, with the exception of Bangassou, located at more than 700 kilometers east of the capital. Still in the Central African Republic, 3 appeals were filed yesterday with the Constitutional Court to cancel the last elections, which gave the outgoing President Faustin-Archange Touadéra victory. Explanations of Ashley Duprat.
The re-election of the outgoing President Faustin-Archange Touadéra is not all happiness in the Central African Republic. 3 appeals were filed yesterday with the Constitutional Court, 2 in the name of opposition candidates Martin Ziguele and Anissé Georges Dologuele, and a third in the name of 10 candidates. According to the unfortunate candidates, irregularities have multiplied during the election, disappearance of ballot, intimidation, and even vote buying. The accusations are numerous. It should also be noted that almost 1 million Central African citizens could not vote for various reasons. Faced with the curfew imposed by the authorities, the constitutional body has exceptionally postponed the closure of the filing of appeals for the presidential election this Friday morning. It must now examine and rule on its request in order to validate or not the result of the presidential election on January 19.
In Burkina Faso, teachers, musicians are fighting against COVID-19 through a caravan. The objective is to sensitize students against the disease. It is already the fourth edition of this animation tour initiated by the artist Axel Kidan, president of the National Office of Teacher Musicians. The caravan will take place until May in several regions of the country, but with the current restriction related to coronavirus, the tour will be done in small groups while waiting for new decision from the authorities. We end this edition with sports information. The African Football Confederation is still looking for its president. Of the 5 applications received, the Commission has validated 2 applications from Augustin Senghor, president of the Senegalese Football Federation, and Jacques Anouma, former president of the Ivorian Football Federation. Nevertheless, the candidacy of the outgoing President Ahmed Ahmed was invalidated because of his suspension by the FIFA. The election will take place on March 12 in Morocco. Thank you for watching us. The news continue on Paris TV.
Paris TV, l'échange de l'Afrique avec le monde.